and why you have to be very careful with pronouns. Relative pronouns are used to link one phrase or clause to another phrase or clause. Reflexive and intensive pronouns are almost similar. Pronouns look very simple, but it becomes easy as you take up many examples and try to solve them. Hello, hi, namaste, and welcome to Vidhyaashram, the Temple of Excellence. I am Nanda Kishore, Faculty of English in Vidhyaashram, Mysuru. In my previous session, I had discussed about linkers. I hope all of you have watched my video and you are practicing linkers. And in today's session, I am going to talk about pronouns. And this topic will be asked for 4 marks in your final examination. So let's start with pronouns. What are pronouns and how many types of pronouns are there, and why you have to be very careful with pronouns. So I will be discussing why it is very important to learn pronouns and how they are helpful and for how many marks they will be asked in question. So what are pronouns basically? Pronouns are the words that are used instead of nouns. Keep this in mind. This is very simple. You should know what are nouns. Nouns are defined as name, place, animal, things. In simple, noun is nothing but name, place, animal, thing. Or in other words, noun is a word which describes the name of a person or a place or a thing or an animal. And how it is replaced with pronoun. Let me just give you an example. If you observe, Shri is a person. It is name of a person. Shri went to market and he bought a big basket of fruits. Now we know that Shri is noun because it is name of a person. And why he is used here? Because we want to replace the name frequently being used. Instead of using Shri, Shri, Shri multiple times, we prefer using he or she or it depending on the subject. If the noun or the noun. If the noun is male, if it is singular, we use he. If it is female and singular, we use she. Likewise, depending on the noun, we go on using pronoun. Shri is a noun replaced with pronoun he. This is very simple. Pronoun is nothing but the word which is used instead of a noun. And you should know what is a noun. Noun is name of a person, place, thing, or an animal. And this text, this paragraph is taken from your workbook. I'm going to explain why this is given in your workbook. Basavaya, and this paragraph is taken from The Gardener, written by P. Lankesh. Basavaya is a Kannada poet. Let us underline the pronouns. He refers to Basavaya. He has written several poems. Many of his poems have been translated into other Indian languages. He himself, remember there are 2 pronouns. Let me just explain in the next slide why he himself and what he himself referred to, has translated some of them into English. You must have observed that the words he, is and himself are pronouns referring to Basavaya. Remember this, pronouns are the words which are replaced or used instead of nouns. Now let us see the next paragraph. Read the following extract and see how the personal pronouns refer to different people or things. Remember, pronouns are the words which are used instead of nouns. Try to observe the words which are in bold letters. Lata was on her annual visit to her uncle's house. She is a pronoun. She always enjoyed it. because she was allowed to spend most of the day in the mango grove. Try to observe Lata, and she refers to Lata here. And what is it here? It refers to annual visit. Lata's uncle was a friend of the owner of the grove who allowed the children to play there. The branches of the trees were covered with so many fruits that they touched. What does they refer to? The branches. They refer to the branches. They almost touched the ground with the weight. Now again there is one more they repeated, but be careful, this they doesn't mean the branches. They spent hours picking the fruit. Here they stand for children. They spent hours picking the fruit, eating most of it. It refers to the fruit here, most of it, and sleeping. Now what will happen if you don't use pronouns instead of nouns? Let me just read this paragraph with nouns itself instead of pronouns. I am not going to use any pronouns. I am just going to use nouns and going to read this entire paragraph. So let us see how meaningful the paragraph looks. Lata was on her annual visit to her uncle's house. Lata always enjoyed annual visit because she was allowed to spend most of the day in the mango grove. Lata's uncle was a friend of the owner of the grove who allowed the children to play there. The branches of the trees were covered with so many fruits that the branches almost touched the ground with the weight. The children spent hours picking the fruit, eating most of the fruit, and sleeping. See, there are a lot of repetition of the words which I just read. So instead, to make it meaningful and instead to make the paragraph much more easier, we are using pronouns. It is nothing but replacing noun with pronoun. Now, how many types of pronouns are there? So let us see in the slide. First one, personal pronoun. Personal, when we say personal, it is about us. Refer to a specific person. You are particularly referring to a person or a thing. For example, I, you, he, she, it. These are personal pronouns. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. Demonstrative. What are demonstrative? It demonstrate. As the meaning says, we are demonstrating something. Demonstrative pronouns point to and identify a noun or a pronoun. Example, this, that, those, them, these, those. Remember, I'm holding a pen here. So what is this? This is a pen. I'm demonstrating. This is a pen, and these are the electronic gadgets. These, those, this, that. So these are demonstrative. Interrogative, as the answer itself says. The line itself says interrogative is questioning. Interrogative pronouns are used to ask question. Example, what, when, who, why, where. Where are you going? What are you eating? When are you coming back? Who are you talking to? Why are you so angry? Why are you so upset? So these are interrogative. You are questioning somebody. You are asking question to someone, or you can question yourself. Fourth one, relative pronouns. Pay attention, this is a bit confusing. Relative pronouns are used to link. You should remember there are words in interrogative, the same words are repeated, but why we are talking about relative pronouns? Relative pronouns are used to link one phrase or clause to another phrase or clause. But before understanding what are relative pronouns, you should know what is a phrase and a clause. Try to understand, a phrase is incomplete and a clause is complete sentence. Phrase is without the subject and clause is with the subject and the action is complete, the verb. For example, what are they? Relative pronouns: who, whom, that, which, whoever, whomever, whichever. Let me just take an example of who. You might be wondering, sir, you have already used who with interrogative, and how can this same word be used as relative pronouns? You should know the description of relative pronouns. Relative pronouns are words used to link one phrase or clause to another phrase or clause. By picking up this word, let me just frame a sentence. I'm walking on the street. Imagine I'm walking on the street and the sentence goes like this. I happen to meet a person who was my teacher. I happen to meet a person on the street. The action is complete. The word is sentence is complete. I happen to meet a person on the street who relative. I'm showing a relation there. Who happens to be my teacher. Who happens to be my teacher. I hope you got it. Don't get confused. Indefinite pronouns. Indefinite, you're not particularly or specifically pointing at one particular person or a thing. Refer to an identifiable, you can identify, but not specifically or specified person or thing. Indefinite pronouns. For example, all, another, any, one, anybody, anyone, nobody. You are not particularly talking to one person there. Can anybody answer this question? If I just make a statement, can anybody answer my question? Then I am not particularly pointing at one person. I am asking the classroom or the group of people who are in front of me. I hope you are understanding it. Indefinite is not particularly talking to one person, but you are posing a question to the crowd. Be careful with this. Sixth one is reflexive pronouns. What are reflexive pronouns? Reflexive pronouns refer back to the subject of the clause or sentence. In other words, reflexive pronouns are the words, it could be the subject, it could be the subject or the object which ends with self. Yourself, myself, themselves. It could be self or selves. Herself, himself, itself, ourselves. As I told you, reflexive pronouns are the words, it could be the subject or the object which ends with self or selves. Intensive pronouns, be careful with this. Intensive pronouns, they almost look similar to reflexive pronouns. Intensive pronouns are used to emphasize, to give more prominence. Intensified, intentionally, you're pointing to something, to emphasize, to give limelight to something. Emphasize their antecedent. Their antecedent. What is there here? There is reflexive pronouns. The word which are used before reflexive pronouns, their antecedents. Intensive pronouns are identical in form of reflexive pronouns. Example, I myself. You are talking to a person and you are telling him, I myself found it fascinating. I myself did it. I myself did everything. I myself. So you are emphasizing yourself. You're talking about yourself and you are telling the person it was only me, I, who did everything. Eighth one is possessive pronouns. As the word itself says, possessive pronouns represents a noun and also tells us who owns it. For example, mine, yours, his, hers, ours, and theirs. So it clearly gives an idea that what is owned by whom or who owns it refers to the object or it could be anything else. From the workbook, so this is the example that I've taken. This is the exercise that I've taken from your workbook. What do the underlined words in the following paragraph refer to? But in the workbook, this line reads, what do the word which are in italics referred to in the paragraph. So I've just modified a bit. Once upon a time, let us see what do they refer to. Once upon a time, a poor woman was walking from one village to another carrying a bundle on her head. So who is her? Her is the poor woman. Her head, unable to lift it. What does it refer to? Bundle. She, again, poor woman, she rested every now and then. A horseman passed by. The woman requested him. Him refers to the horseman to carry the bundle on horseback till the next village. So he refers to again the horseman. He refused, saying, "You will walk slowly and delay me." Me stands for again the horseman, delay me, and I is also the horseman here. I have a long way to go. This is how they are going to ask the question in your final examination. To make it simpler, I have taken the question from the question paper 2020 examination held in the month of April 2020. So this is how it looks in your examination. So in the year 2020, they are asked the question for 4 marks and the question number was 34. What do the underlined words in the following extract refer to? Each will be asked for 4 marks and each blank will carry 1 mark. There will be 4 options you need to fill in. Huan Sang, Chinese traveler. Huan Sang came to India to learn about people who lived here. He came walking through the mountains, facing all the odds. He was always dressed in a strange attire and this amused people around him. Try to observe the words which are underlined and what do the underlined words refer to? The pronoun. Let us start solving it. Huan Sang came to India to learn about people who lived here. So what does the word who refer to? Who refer to people of India, or just simply write people. You have to write these words. Don't just mark, underline or do some other stuffs while answering in your answer script. Lived here, where? In India. Here refer to in India. He came walking through the mountains, facing all the odds. He was always, he refers to Huan Sang, a Chinese traveler. He was always dressed in a strange attire and this amused. What does this refer to? It refers to strange attire. So this is how we are going to fill in the pronouns which will be asked for 4 marks in your final examination. So don't forget, pronouns look very simple, but it becomes easy as you take up many examples and try to solve them. So that is it for today's session. In the next session, I'm going to talk about idioms and phrases. Until then, keep practicing pronouns. Let us meet in the next session. Thank you. Have a good day.